Hi everybody, it's Chris here. Welcome back to 30-Day Excel Analyst. This is Automation Week. This is day 18. Now, if you're watching live, a big welcome to you. Leave me a comment in the chat. I will deal with those at the end. If you're watching on replay, fantastic to have you with us too. Please do leave a comment below. I want to help you get as much value as you can out of 30-Day Excel Analyst. Leave me a comment below. I will get back to you today. And yes, this is 30-Day Excel Analyst, and we're attempting to transform your analytical skill set in 30 days. And this week is Automation Week. Yesterday, we discussed, what VBA is, when you should use it, when you shouldn't use it, got a sense of what's possible with Excel VBA. And one thing we touched on in particular is the three sources of VBA code. Where does VBA code actually come from? We talked about the three sources of VBA code. There's organic code, that's code that you write yourself. Recycled code, that's code you might have in another Excel file you might find on the internet that you recycle and adapt to your purpose. And then thirdly, recorded code. And this session is really about recorded code. We know how to generate it now, but recorded code creates as many questions as answers, because once you see recorded code do something, and yesterday we sorted some data in Excel using recorded code, it leaves you thinking, well, if I can do this, could I also do that? And this is what it's like with VBA. No job is ever really done with VBA, because every step you take, every accomplishment leaves you thinking, well, now I've done that, couldn't I do this as well? This is a positive addiction to foster. Don't worry about it. And if you're thinking about that, you're thinking along the right line. So yesterday we recorded some code. Today we're going to deal with improving recorded VBA code. Now, in our context, we've just done a simple operation, which is sorting data. So what else might we want to do? Well, we've sorted the data. We might want to change the sort order. You might want to sort from high to low. You might want to sort from low to high. We might want to make this sort operation work with data sets of different sizes. We know that data sets are always changing in Excel. So how can we change our approach from what we'd call a static approach that works with a fixed range to a more dynamic approach that works with a changing data set? Something else we might want to do. What about this? Could we sort multiple sheets with one button click? So we've got a single sheet of data at the moment. What if we had 2, 3, 4 sheets of data? Could we loop through those sheets and do it at a single button click? So there's some examples of the kind of things that we want to do with our sort code. But whatever you're doing in Excel VBA, you'll be automating some kind of manual process. You'll have questions like these. In an ideal world, I'd like to do this, I'd like to do that. My advice is write those down, a bit like how I've done here. That's the first step in the process of translation. One of our Excel meta skills. This is what I want to do. Okay, what techniques in Excel are available to help me do this? And with that said, these are the 5 skill areas in Excel VBA. So whatever you're doing in Excel VBA, you're going to be using one or more of these key skill areas, and we're going to work through them this week. So when you're thinking Excel VBA, it's such a vast topic, it is. It's a language. It's vast and rich. Use this slide to orientate yourself. I've called this Automation in Excel Simplified. It really does simplify things, because there's only really 5 things that you have to learn to do in Excel VBA. Firstly, excuse me, you have to work with cells, a bit like we started doing yesterday. So writing a value to the spreadsheet and retrieving a value from a spreadsheet. This is the first key skill area. Working with variables. So what the hell is a variable? It's very simple. A variable is just a little space in the computer's memory to store some information that's going to be useful to us for some reason. And when we create a variable, we have to say to the computer what kind of data we want to store in the variable. We're going to see this in action today. So you have to understand what a variable is and be able to work with them. Thirdly, you have to be able to control position. So Excel gives us this grid. It's our playground, our canvas, our own personal hell, depending on how your coding session is going, and our ability to control our position on that grid, whether it's selecting a particular cell, whether it's selecting a range of cells, whether it's trying to do that dynamically, as we just discussed, for a changing data set, position control is one of the main determinants of the impact of your coding. Fourthly, loops. So we said we might want to repeat this operation across multiple sheets. So we've got a repeated action, a repeated action. Now, a loop in computer programming, it's the most powerful concept in computer programming, because a computer, you can just say, right, that thing you're doing, keep doing it. Yeah, do it this number of times, do it 10 times, do it 100 times, do it 1,000 times. So loops we will get to, not today, but later in the week. And a loop is, yeah, just a really powerful construct. It's going to take your VBA coding to the next level. Finally, the fifth of 5 key skill areas in Excel VBA is conditionality. So a condition sends the code one of 2 or more ways. And we talk about if, else, end if, and select case. Won't be able to cover all of those this week. But conditionality, when we're thinking about the if formula, if we go back to Excel modeling week, we've got our big 5 Excel modeling formulae. And the if formula is one of those. We want Excel to do something. If something's happening in the spreadsheet, we want it to do something else. If something else is happening in the spreadsheet, then that's the concept of conditionality. Now, this whole week, we're only really scraping the surface. So guys, I've put our best VBA resources in the video description below. Learn VBA in a way that suits you. We've got 5-minute videos. We've got our 30 for 30 course. So 30-minute videos, a bit like 30-day Excel Analyst. We've got a long 5-hour video that I do recommend. We recorded just a couple of months ago. So it's like a 5-hour complete course. So whatever your learning style, whatever length of video suits you, we've got something for you. And the links are in the video description below. Clearly, 30-day Excel Analyst, we're not going to be able to go into a massive level of detail. We've got many, many follow-up resources. So make sure you use those. So with that said, into today's Excel download file. So as always, the resources are available. Look in the video description below to find them. So what might we want to do? Well, just thinking back to that slide of things that we might want to do. We're currently sorting the data. We've got a message box displaying. The data is sorting from high to low there. I can see the biggest values at the top and the smallest values at the bottom. And we said something we might want to do is to be able to control that. Could we sort it from low to high rather than high to low? So that's our real world requirement. So planning and conceptualization, we're being very clear about our real world requirement, literally speaking it out loud. I'll be writing it down in my notebook right now on a project. So now we can try to translate that into some Excel techniques and kind of bring it into reality. What are we missing this morning? We're missing the VBA editor. So we're going to go developer, Visual Basic if you want. I'm going to hit the Alt F11 shortcut on the Windows PC, and we can see the VBA developer there. If you just bear with me a second, you can see I've got this taskbar at the bottom of the screen. Now to create a little bit more real estate, and I usually do this before the session, I'm trying to make it into a learning point here, but it does help a little bit. If you go to taskbar settings on the Windows PC and then click this to off, automatically hide, click it to on rather, automatically hide the taskbar in desktop mode. Just going to give you a little bit more real estate. You know, that's just a little 5%er. All of those little 5%ers will add up, and I do that, you know, when I'm presenting anyway, just to make the interface a little bit clearer there. Okay, so a key skill here is being able to interpret and adapt VBA code, particularly recorded VBA code here. So one advantage of VBA is it's a relatively intuitive coding language. Now, I spoke yesterday about VBA. It tends to be hated on. It's not particularly fashionable. Lots of technical people like saying it's kind of like a child's language. I don't know. Maybe that's true. I don't really care. It's had massive impact in my life and for the millions of people. Well, that's an exaggeration. Thousands of people I've helped over the years, so I don't really mind what other people think. But it has this intuitive quality. So just reading the code, you can kind of understand. You can kind of understand what's going on. And then you can start making decisions about, okay, to perform this operation, what code do I need and what code don't I need here? So for example, here we're selecting E2. Do we need to do that? Here we're inputting a value to a cell. Do we need to do that? You know, I'm not absolutely sure. So you can go through and start editing the code, deleting the code that you don't need and adapting and improving the code that you do need. Now, at this point, let's learn a meta skill here. We're going to go to debug and step into. This is going to allow you to understand exactly what the code is doing. If you can do this, you can step through the code. Really, the sky's the limit for your Excel VBA learning. Now, I've just hit debug. I'm going to hit the F8 key on the Windows PC. And I can see this yellow line working down the code. Now, what's going on? We're doing what's called, we're stepping through the code. So we're executing the code line by line. And because I've lined up the windows here, I've got Excel on one side and the VBA editor on the other, I can understand exactly what's going on. So when we execute a line of code in the VBA editor, this is what's happening in the spreadsheet. How cool is that? This is why I love VBA. Provides just such a helpful learning environment for getting involved with computer code. I can see the shortcut listed here. So on the Windows PC, I can just hit the F8 key. Now, that line of code that was previously highlighted says data will sort. That's now executed. Just keep an eye on the selected cell here. I'm going to hit the F8 key. What's going to happen? E2 is now selected. Something's gone into E2. It's already there, so we couldn't see that. Now what's going to happen? We're going to select C3. So this is what we call stepping through the code. Seriously, get used to doing this. You can also do stuff like putting a breakpoint in the code. I'm just going to click in the gray margin here, going to hit the play button, and then I can see that the code is going to run to the break point. Also a really useful debugging aid here. So all of this is going to help you get a feel for the code. Do I need this stuff? Selecting the cells, putting a value into the spreadsheet, not so much. So I can just go ahead and delete this. And even this stuff at the top, I don't need this either. And you can see this is what we'd call a comment in VBA, or an annotation. If we put an inverted comma at the beginning, we can say a comment here. That text is going to appear green. Why does it appear green? It's telling Excel to ignore this text. So when Excel executes this code, it's going to ignore anything in green. So we can use those annotations to help us to make notes in English or your native language about what on earth is going on there. Right. Indentation. I've selected all of the code here. I'm going to hit Shift and Tab. Hitting Shift and Tab, I've reduced the indentation. Now, indentation helps us understand the structure of the code. We can see here, highlighted in blue, at the beginning and the end of this construct, this little, this little block of code here. This all goes together. It's inside a with and with statement. So then we can indent. We can indent here. Indentation just reinforces in my mind. I just hit the tab key there to indent across. Just reinforces in our mind the structure of the code and what's going on here. So this, we talk about the meta skill. This is all the meta skill. Debugging, stepping through, leaving comments, cleaning up your code, indenting your code. I'm just touching on these now in our longer form videos. Links in the video description below. I'm talking about these things all the time. So the specific thing we're looking to do, option to sort ascending or descending. So how on earth are we going to start with that? Option to sort ascending or descending. Well, let's get into the code. Let's try to find something that might help us. Yeah. Let's get involved with that process of translation. Is there something in the code that might help us here? And even if you didn't have much knowledge of VBA at all, you should be able to get started with this. So what does it say here? So we've got a range. So that's probably the range that we're sorting. It says sort on values. Not sure what that means here, but it doesn't really matter if you don't know what it means. What about this? We've got order Excel descending. Now that clearly it has something to do with the sort order. I know when we sort data, we've got this concept of, sorting the data in ascending or descending order, largest to smallest or smallest to largest. So just by looking at the code, I can kind of understand that this might be helpful for us. So now we can begin to experiment. Meta skills, experimentation and trial and error here. And I'm going to introduce a bit of real world knowledge that I have. Rather than having Excel descending, we can express this as a number. Yeah, we can express this as a number. 1 is going to be smallest to largest or largest to smallest. And then 2 is going to be the opposite of that. I'm not sure which way around it goes. It doesn't matter. I don't have to remember which way around it goes because I can understand that through trial and error and intuitively while we're doing Excel VBA. So VBA editor open. I've just tweaked some of the recorded code. Now what do I need to do? I need to understand what impact is this going to have. So I've got my windows lined up here. Control S, save the file. Another meta skill, make sure you're backing up the file as you go, hitting the F12 key, saving new versions. I'll do that in the real world now. I just want to play this macro. So you could click the button to play the macro. You can also click in the VBA editor. I can see the cursor is there flashing within the routine. I'm just going to hit play here and I can see we've still got our message box and I can see our data has sorted there. But has sorted in a different order. I'm just going to get rid of, in fact, I'm just going to comment out this message box. So I've commented out that message box because I don't want it to run anymore. I'm finding it a little bit annoying. I can just make it a comment and then not going to run anymore. So what we can see is we've got smallest to largest here. So now we've got to play. We've got to experiment. I'm going to go for 2 here. So I threw in a bit of real world knowledge here. We can use 1 or 2 to denote the sort order here. So what happens when we hit 2? Going to hit sort data and we can see data now sorted into largest to smallest order, which you would call descending order, I believe. Although you don't have to worry about remembering. I can't describe if it's ascending or descending. That doesn't matter because I know I can understand that intuitively because my Excel meta skill is good. Nice. Okay, so what would we want here? We'd want the option to sort data smallest to largest or largest to smallest. Okay, so I'm going to say sort option here. Alt HOW, let's have 15 here. I'm going to have 10. Alt HOW 10. This column, Alt HOW 3. Just going to make that a spacer column there. So we've got source option here, Alt HBA on the Windows PC. Later in the course, we have a full session on Excel shortcuts, by the way, if you want to know a bit more about these. So sort option, I'm going to say Alt AVV here. I'm going to say list, and then I'm going to say high to low, high, low, and then comma, low, high. So this is data validation we've created a drop-down menu, and this is the shorthand way to create a drop-down menu. You can just put the entries in here separated by a comma. I'm going to hit OK there. So sort option, we've got high, low there, or we've got low to high. Okay, so what do we want to happen now? Well, we need to create some kind of connection, don't we, from this cell to the VBA editor. And we're going to do that by introducing what we call a conditional statement is going to help us here, and a variable is going to help us. So here comes a variable. I'm going to say dim sort order as integer. What on earth does that mean? Things get quite abstract here. So a variable is just a place to store information. As we said at the beginning of the session, we have to give a variable an informative name. You see lots of people online saying dim A is integer, dim X is integer. I don't recommend doing that. It does have to be a single word, so you will need the underscore there. So a variable, we give it a name, and then we say what type of variable is it? Now, what type of variable do we need? We need an integer, a whole number variable. Why is that? Because we just want to store 1 or 2. We're using this variable to control the sort order. Other common variables, string variables hold text. Boolean variables allow you to hold a true or false value. And yeah, if you go into the video description, you can follow our videos and see many more examples of variables there. Okay. So what are we going to do now? We're going to put a value into this variable. So I'm going to say sort order equals 1 here. I'm just going to put a comment here. I'm going to say put value into variable here. Now, what on earth is going on? We're going very fast here. This is an A equals B operation. An A equals B operation. So A is going to take on the value of B. So we're putting a value into that variable there. So sort order equals 1. I'm going to hit the F8 key just step through this routine. You can also go to debug and step into, of course. Now just hover the cursor over sort order. You can see the value that's stored in that variable. I'm going to hit F8. When the line of code's highlighted, it hasn't been executed yet. So it's going to be 0 because there's no value in it yet. Hit the F8 key, execute that line of code, and a value of 1 has gone into that variable. So we're using a variable to store a value. And now this is where the magic happens. It's going to go, it might go just absolutely crazy. When you see this, it might be incredibly confusing, but you can see we're using the variable there to store the value. So what are we expecting to happen now? I'm going to just run this code using the F5 key, and we can see we've gone small to large there. So 1 appears to be small to large. What if we try 2? Let's hit the F5 key. 2 appears to be large to small. Okay, can you see how that's happening? This variable is controlling this sort routine. We need to do more than that though, don't we? Because we want to get that value in the spreadsheet. We want that value to control this sort process. So the gives the user some flexibility. The user can control the VBA from the spreadsheet. We can't ask the user to go into the VBA editor, of course. Okay. So 2 is low to high. Okay, so we're going to use an if statement here. So if the cell in the spreadsheet, so I'm going to say range F2 here, F2 equals low high. Now I've got the speech marks there. Then sort order equals, so 2 was high to low, so 1 is low to high, I think. I'm not absolutely sure if I got this right. It doesn't matter. We can work it out intuitively when we do the testing. Here we go. So what on earth is going on here? We've introduced what we call a conditional statement. So we've set out the logic here. If cell F2 equals low high, then we want to put the value of 1 into the variable. What's the other side of this? So I'm going to recycle this code, and then we want to put the other side, if you like, of this condition here. So if F2 equals low high, then sort order is going to equal 2. If F2 equals high low rather, then sort order is going to equal 2. Right. So what on earth is going on now? We've got a connection between the spreadsheet and the VBA editor. So a lot to take in here. I'm going to hit the F8 key. We actually don't need this anymore. So I'm just going to comment it out, just like we commented out the message box. And let's step through the code here, hitting the F8 key. So if F2 equals low high, then sort order equals 1. So you can see this section of the line is highlighted. That shows that Excel is going to execute that section next. And then according to whether that section's true or false, Excel will execute the second part of the line, which is the second part of that conditional statement. So sort order equals 1. This is our second simple conditional statement. Well, this conditional statement isn't true, is it? Because F2 doesn't equal high low. And that means we won't execute the rest of the conditional statement. I can hit F8 now, and we didn't execute the rest of the conditional statement there. Okay, going to hit the F5 key, run this routine, and low high gave us the low numbers at the top and the high numbers at the bottom. So I did seem to get the order right. I was hoping I'll get the order wrong to show you how easy it is to change it, but I did seem to get the order right there. So I'm changing high low now, changing to high low, going to sort the data, and I can see we've got high low there. I'm going to go low to high, sort the data here, and we can see sorting the data there. Okay. One last thing we're going to do is kind of a bonus option here. So I want to write a value to the spreadsheet. We're taking a value from the spreadsheet. That's what we're doing here. What if we want to write a value to the spreadsheet? So I'm going to say range E7 equals, I'm going to say data last sorted. And what I want here is a little message saying this is when the data was last sorted. So I'd like to display the time and the date. How to do that? Well, we're going to use the ampersand here. And then we're going to use the format function in Excel VBA. What do we want to do? Well, we want to take now So now we can display in the Excel spreadsheet using the now formula. We can also access the now function in Excel VBA. The format function in Excel VBA is going to do what the text function does in the spreadsheet. So I can take the value in that cell. Suppose I just want to display the day. I can say DDD like this, and it's just going to display the day, which is Tuesday. So similarly, we're going to take now, and in Excel VBA, what do I want to display? I want to display the day. In fact, I'm just going to display the time here for simplicity. So I'm going to say hour, minute, and second there. So the second part of this format function, I can choose the format that I want the value to display in, similar to the text formula in Excel. Okay. What's going to happen now? Well, I'm expecting something to happen in E7. I'm going to hit the F5 key here. What's going to happen? And we can see in E7 there, the data last sorted at 10:29:56, which is the current time here. I'm then going to select A1, change A1 dot select. Why is that? Because when I was running the routine before, you could see it was selecting some kind of random cells there. That's not helpful for the user. Let's make it as clean, clinical, as easy to use as possible. So I'm just going to select A1 at the end there, sort the data, and you can see high to low, last sorted at 10:30 and 25 seconds, low to high, last sorted 10:20, 32 seconds, and I can see the data there. Okay, guys, that concludes today's session, but let's just go through what we've done quickly. So we've created this option to sort from ascending to descending. And then just think, even if it's been very confusing, we've gone very fast today, just go back to this slide and think, okay, what techniques from the 5 skill areas have we actually used? We've worked with cells. We've read values from the spreadsheet. We've put values into the spreadsheet. We've created a variable, created an integer variable, and we used a simple conditional statement using conditionality. Everything that we do, you can fit into one of our 5 categories. If that's all you do in these sessions, you look at the categories, try to understand what code fits into each one. Seriously, that's a big step forward in terms of Excel VBA learning. So guys, thanks so much for watching live today. As I said, if you're watching on replay, make sure you leave me a comment below. I'm very happy to get back to you there. Heavy downpours with us today. Ironic today, HD, because it's actually raining. You can probably hear on the mic, it's actually raining really, really hard here. And you say you're ready at your desk. Fantastic. I hope it was a good session today. Heavy downpour. How are you doing, Lee? Good to see you, Arnie from down under. How's it going? And the Fed tuning in from California. We've got a good geographical spread today. We've got the US, we've got the UK, Australia. Fantastic stuff. Good to see Kieran checking back in. How are you doing, Kieran? Good to have you back with us. Marcus checking in as well. How are you doing? Thank you for saying it's a great session, and Heavy downpour agreeing there that it's a great session. So getting started with Excel VBA, as I said, the one key skill area that's created the most impact for my customers over the years is automation in Excel VBA. We did a bit yesterday, we did a bit more today, integrating that organic code around the recorded code, and we'll have more to come tomorrow. Same time, same place, 10 o'clock UK time, live for more from 30 Day Excel Analyst. I'll see you then.